On early morning of February 2022, Russia treacherously attacked Ukraine. The Russian-Ukrainian war started. This is 24th of February of 2025. It is 3 years later. 3 years is a long time. Much has happened since then. The lives lost, the cities razed, the economy is destroyed, the future erased. I want to speak of what has happened in 3 years. Just facts. Let's talk of the results of horrible 3 years. The most horrible 3 years in my life, at least. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, you will not find any BS, propaganda, or lies here, but you will find plenty of truth, common sense, and logic. And some emotions too, because I am a human being. A very tough day for me personally today. 3-year anniversary. I remember this day on February 24th of 2022 as if it happened yesterday. All right. No forecasts today, no predictions, no future. Well, just a little bit at the end. But based on the facts that I'm going to be talking about, let's just do the dry facts, just the results. And you can't argue with what I'm about to say. It has happened. It has become a hard reality of life. You can fact check me on anything what I'm about to say. Please do if you wish. First, there are 3 areas of life I would like to talk about. That is the lives lost, the economies, and societies. And I would like to start with Ukraine. I owe it to Ukraine. Before I get there, I would like to tell you a very brief history of this terrible 3 years. What happened? Like a reminder, so to speak. 3 years ago, in the early morning, on February 24th, 2022, Russia launched a massive missile attack on Ukraine, and Russian army rolled into Kharkov province and in other territories of Ukraine. Vladimir Putin announced on national TV in an address to the Russian nation, that it was him who made the decision to start the special military operation to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. Check this out.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины.
He said it. Now there are many people in different countries are saying that it was Ukraine who attacked Russia, who started the war. Well, I remember it with my own eyes. I was at the time at the southern city of Rostov-on-Don, right next to Ukraine, and Putin said it. That it was his personal decision to attack and invade Ukraine, to start killing Ukrainian people, to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. Don't ever forget that. Russia advanced fast, and in the first few days, Russian troops reached Kiev outskirts. Initially, the special military operation, that's how Putin and everyone in Russia has been calling the war. Initially, the special military operation that Putin announced was supposed to last for a few days. There were many signs of that, and the most significant sign in my mind was that the civil airports in the southern and central parts of Russia were closed for 2 weeks initially. 2 weeks. They closed all air traffic for 2 weeks. They give certain dates, and they said after 2 weeks, all the airlines can resume flying to Rostov, Krasnodar, and cities like that. Putin thought he had the second strongest army in the world that will get him Kiev in 3 days. Well, that didn't happen. The Ukrainians put up a fight. They united behind their leader, Vladimir Zelensky, and started defending their country. At the same time, Russian army started falling apart. From the day one, its might has turned out to be nothing more but a myth. Russians couldn't take neither Kiev nor Kharkov. They retreated back close to Russian borders in late March of 2022. Initially, they succeeded in moving into Ukraine in the south, taking Mariupol and Kherson, although in the summer of 2022, military aid started rolling into Ukraine from Europe and the USA, and the Ukrainians started striking back. And boy, Putin and his gang did not expect that. In September, they kicked Russians out of Kherson and cleared all Kharkov province. No, I'm sorry. That was September. Kharkov. Kherson was later in November. Defeat all of a sudden started happening for Russia. And that word, defeat, was for the first time appeared in the air in front of everyone. It appeared on the horizon, so to speak. Putin announced the mobilization in September because he was kind of growing desperate. Hundreds of Russian men were forcibly taken by the state and forced into the front lines in Ukraine. Most of them are dead now, or at least haven't heard from. Millions of others fled Russia. In October, Putin changed Russian constitution and added the stolen Ukrainian land, making it Russian according to the Russian law. The situation in the front lines quieted down after that, after Russians were forced out of Kherson in November. And in 2023, the Ukrainians attempted a counteroffensive. It was only partially successful, not very significant. In the summer of 2023, there was a mutiny in Russia. Private army Wagner, led by its owner Yevgeny Prigozhin, captured a Russian city of Rostov-on-Don and advanced into Moscow. Prigozhin declared he was moving on to Moscow to topple Putin from the power. Putin begged for help from Russian citizens and fled Moscow. Prigozhin was convinced to stop the mutiny, or bought, or blackmailed, who knows. But anyway, he stopped mutiny. And 1 month later, he was punished, executed in the air. Russian army shot down Prigozhin's plane by an air defense missile. And in 2023, another thing happened unexpectedly for Russia. Ukrainian drones started attacking targets deep inside Russian territory. At first, they were rare attacks, but they have intensified. And it turned out that Russia simply doesn't have air defense system. Trillions and trillions of rubles had been spent to build what was supposed to be the best air defense system in the world, but it just doesn't exist. Or it does exist on paper, but it doesn't exist in reality. Now airstrikes are executed en masse daily on different facilities in Russia. It's kind of become a new normal for Russia. In 2024, it was Russia who attempted an offense operation, but failed for the most part. In August of 2024, probably the most significant event happened. The Ukrainian army forced itself, rolled into Russian territory, mostly unopposed, and occupied a large part of Kursk province. Russia has failed to defend and reclaim its land, and now it's still controlled by Ukraine. It's been over 6 months. Right now, there's a situation close to a stalemate. Neither of the sides can push forward, and this is as briefly as I could describe this 3 year history of the war. Of course, there are many significant things, details, but if I talk about them, this live stream would be much, much longer. That's the history for you. Before I jump to the results, I would like to use this opportunity to thank you, everyone who is a part of the community. Thank you for the support. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sending encouragements, praying with me, and sending your love. Thank you for the coffees that you buy at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you for the support through Patreon and PayPal. I'm still demonetized by Google and YouTube. Still don't know what's going on. Still no clear answer. It's over 6 months now, but you have my word that I will keep on going. It doesn't matter that demonetized, monetized. So you have my word, and thank you so much for your support from the bottom of my heart. So, the results of 3 years of this unjust war. And I want to start with Ukraine. I think I own it to Ukraine. I'm not a big expert on Ukraine, on what's happening in the front lines with the economy and so forth. I know that the economy of Ukraine is ravaged. Again, I'm not an expert on that, but from what I hear from different experts, Ukrainian economy has declined or by around 30%. Ukraine has lost land, obviously. A lot of it is controlled by Russia now, and lots of people. Many cities, towns, and villages were razed from the face of the earth. And every time I am reminded of that, I have a wave of shame rising up. Please forgive us. Most Ukrainian families have been affected by this war. Millions of people have fled to foreign countries, including to Uzbekistan. The support group that I have created here, a community called Tashkent Breakfast Club, also has Ukrainian members, Ukrainian families who have fled. So I know what I'm talking about. Ukrainian army has bravely defended the country from Russia, and that's really a miracle. Just compare the size of Russia and Ukraine, and compare their defense budgets before the war started. Compare the size of their armies. It's just like comparing David and Goliath. Ukrainian people have united. You know, as a Russian, I'm looking at Ukraine, well, as a Russian who loves Ukraine and who knows Ukraine very well, who's been to Ukraine, who lived there. I know Ukrainians. I grew up 40 miles from Ukraine. I speak Surzhyk. It's a mix of Russian and Ukrainian. That's what we speak in southern Russia, in Rostov, okay? I see that Ukrainian people have united, and the nation, for the first time, has been born. Ukraine has a goal right now that unites everyone. And Ukraine has a new leader. It is Vladimir Zelensky. He's a very strong, very patriotic, very brave leader of Ukraine. I know it doesn't cut it, and I know it's just not much, but I keep on saying, Ukrainians, please forgive us. There are some Russians out there who strongly oppose what our country is doing to yours, and I know it doesn't cut it, but I just keep repeating it. Please forgive us. Now, the results for Russia, for my country. I know my country quite well. In the last 3 years, I have become an expert, a scholar of the transformation that Russia has been going through. So I know a thing or two about it. This is where it gets interesting. You see, Russia has been affected less by the war so far, at least if we look at it with a naked eye. Most of the military fighting has been happening on Ukrainian territory, at least until recently, before it has lost Kursk. But even if we compare the Kursk under occupation of the Ukrainian forces and the Ukrainian land under occupation of Russian forces, there's a huge difference. Kursk is tiny. Ukrainian GDP has declined by a third, which is absolutely huge. But Russian GDP, what appears to be growing. Yet, if we look at what will be happening with both countries in the long run, we'll see a very different picture. Ukraine will shine, and Russia will demise. Well, it has been demising for the past 3 years. And this is why. I'll start with people, with lives. You know, everything can be fixed except for lives lost. The economy, the society, the indoctrination, everything can be reversed with efforts and time, but it's possible. We cannot return lost lives. We cannot fix that. In Russia, the number of lives lost is a top secret, state secret. If someone reveals it, so that someone goes to prison for a long time, because the state doesn't want the citizens, the voters, and taxpayers know the exact number. They've only told us 3 times. March 2nd, 1 week into the war, March 29th, 1 month into the war, and September 21st of 2022, when the mobilization started. And that's it. The official number at this point is from September 21st of 2022. It's 5,900 people killed. The unofficial numbers are quite different, of course. They come from different sources, and it's clear that it's hundreds of thousands of people. It's really hard to say. It's hard to say precisely because no one knows except for the Russian army, but it is in the thousands, hundreds of thousands. I personally know 6 people who were killed in Ukraine, and I know some people who were killed, Ukrainians who were killed in Ukraine. All I can say is just what a waste, horrible waste of life. This is why. Why, oh, why is it happening? The damage been done. You cannot return those people, both for Russia and for Ukraine. They're dead. There are orphans now. There are wives, widows who lost their husbands, their parents who lost their sons. There is so much sorrow and despair. And I don't know why. Let's go to the second area I'd like to speak about, and I am an expert in that. That is Russian economy. On paper, Russian economy has grown. It grew every year in the last 3 years. In reality, there are 2 economies in Russia now, the war economy and the civil economy. Everything connected with the war going on is a part of the war economy. You know, the military industrial complex produces the tools of death. It has grown, indeed. Everything that is connected to the military industrial complex has grown. My estimate, in the last 3 years, Russian war economy has grown by about 40%, give or take. The civil economy has shrunk by about 35%, give or take. A huge disbalance has been created. The reason for the military growth in Russia is country's savings account, the Fund for National Welfare. it's been used to finance the war economy. You see, Russia had been making a lot of savings before the war. It accumulated over $600 billion in cash and in other liquid assets such as gold, diamonds, and other assets that can be sold easily. Half of those savings was frozen, and it's still frozen, about $300 billion, and another $300 billion has been spent over 3 years to finance the war, economy. The savings account allowed Russian economy not to collapse for 3 years, but now it's gone, spent. And on the 3rd year anniversary of the war, Russian economy isn't doing well at all. It is, well, let me start with the inflation. The official sugar-coated inflation is a bit under double digits, bit under 10%. Real-life inflation in 2024 was around 40%, and it has grown further in 2025. The key interest rate is at all-time high of 21%. The trade balance for the first time in Putin's Russia has dropped to nearly zero. You see, Russia always sold more than it bought overseas. Not anymore. That is the verdict to Putin's regime. Okay, that one particular thing. But let's not zero in on the details. Russian ruble right now is around 90 rubles for dollar. It gained some value recently, but still 90 rubles is absolutely insane. 3 years before the war, that's unthinkable. The number of business and personal bankruptcies is at record high. The civil economy is imploding. The businesses are closing or getting bankrupt. The real estate industry is on the verge of collapse. The industries that are actively collapsing right now are the coal industry, the metallurgical industry, and the wood and pulp industry. The state has set up special purpose industry commissions with unlimited power over the companies in the industries in trouble. It is bailing out the companies and seizing them from the owners, private owners, to the state. Shortages of workers are affecting all industries. The unemployment rate is at all-time low at 1.8%. At the same time, around 3 million Russians have fled the country, the best, the cream of the crop, the most educated, the most intelligent, and those who have empathy and remorse. A very interesting situation is unfolding right now. In one hand, we have 1.8% unemployment. It means that one can have a job just like that, anywhere, anytime, in 15 minutes. If you want a job, you can get it in Russia. 1.8% unemployment. On the other hand, the massive layoffs have started because companies are not making it financially. The economy is imploding. I call it the economic tsunami. Well, it's that's what it is. And the sign of it is, with record low unemployment, there are massive layoffs. That's the same as stagflation in the economy, only in the labor market, so to speak. It's something brand new, something I have not seen, haven't even heard of before. To summarize the state of Russian economy in one word, I'd say a disaster. And it's not tomorrow, it's not next week, it's not around the corner. It is happening now. You can see it on every corner. A disaster. And you can't argue with what I'm saying because that's the truth. These are the facts. If you want to fact check me, go ahead, do it, and let me know down below in the comments after you're done what you find out. So, this disaster, this tsunami, is the direct result of the war. And Russia's future is very dark right now, very grim, because the economy is, it's turning slowly. You can't just, snap your finger and turn economy from good to bad, or from bad to worse, or from bad to good. Okay, it takes time. There's a lag, and sometimes very long lag. And in Russia, the lag's been 2.5 years. But this is done. It's going down, and it's not gonna recover for a very, very long time. Of course, someday it will recover in some way. That's perhaps not in our lifetimes. So, this is what is the result of Putin's war, the war he started 3 years ago. The next area I would like to speak is the role of Russia in the world. And you know what? Russians are clueless. They are being sold this idea. This war is absolutely great for Russia's power. It has made Russia mighty country again. Everyone now looks at Russia as one of the world's leaders, and Russia has made the world bipolar again. In reality, it could not have been far from the truth. Uh, let's look at the facts. Russia, in 3 years, could not overrun Ukraine, a fairly small country with a small economy and a small army compared to Russia. Russian army has failed. It has cost Russia massive lives, a massive amount of money. It has cost its economy, all the experts, the bread makers. It has cost Russia all international markets for everything. Russia's been pushed out, sanctioned, or simply kicked out of all international markets. And Putin has nothing to show for it. He has lost it all, but he hasn't gained anything. Russia has lost its position as a major player in the world. Putin was using the war to declare that Russia is back as a major power, having conquered Ukraine. And Putin now is a major leader, the conqueror, the uniter of Russian lands, or whatever. So he is on par with the rest of world leaders. But Russia failed. Russia has reached the opposite effect. Russia as a great power is gone. If they can't beat Ukraine, who can they beat in this case? Armenia? Georgia? I don't know. Laos? Who? Even Ukraine is undefeated. Russia is not a player any longer. And everyone knows that. And even North Koreans know that. Before the war, Russia had an image of a player, but not anymore. On top of that, Putin has weakened his position, political position, inside Russia substantially. In Ufa region, there were unrests last year, and the fire is still there. Other regions are also, the mercury is rising. Putin is questioned about economical state of Russia. There was a mutiny, a very successful mutiny, where Putin was afraid, scared actually, addressing Russians on TV. His fingers were shaking, He was begging for help from Russians. Okay, and he fled Moscow, scared of Yevgeny Prigozhin. 3 years after the start of the war, right now, Putin is negotiating to stop the war and begging who? The USA, the very same country he was bashing for 3 years, saying they're Satanists, they are just shouldn't be the leader of the world, a single leader of the world. Their economy is not the best. He was making USA clearly an enemy of Russia, and now he is negotiating with the USA to stop the war. He can't win. They can't take over Ukraine, but he must stop the war because that's unsustainable what Russia is doing. You don't win the war by negotiating. If you negotiate, it means you failed to win. And, you don't start it and then negotiate to stop. And 4 countries have shown Russia its weakened place in the world. And these countries are Turkey, China, Syria, and North Korea. Well, in brief, Turkey was an ally, cannot say a strategic ally, but ally of Russia. They competed in some areas, but they were allied. And Erdogan was helping out Putin right after the start of the war, after all nations, including the United States of America, turned away from Russia. Erdogan helped Putin to circumvent sanctions by channeling goods and services into Russia from other countries through Turkey. Turkish banks worked with Russia for the first 2.5 years, almost 2 years. And, Russia had a relationship. But then, after Russia lost, Turkey turned away from Russia. And right now, Erdogan doesn't even speak to Vladimir Putin. It's slap in the face on the cheek of Putin. China, the same thing. China was negotiating with Russia, helping Russia to circumvent sanctions, buying oil from Russia. Recently, it has stopped buying oil. It has stopped making transactions with Russian banks. It has stopped the most recent development. It has closed down its railroad company for quite a few Russian importing companies, trading companies, and it's showing Russia its place. Syria has been lost by Russia. Russia could not help fulfill its obligation. Bashar Assad did not get Russian military aid, and he was forced to flee to Moscow with his family, be at mercy of Vladimir Putin, and Syria fell. Right now, the Syrian Russian bases are being kicked out of Syria. It's a very heated negotiation. Looks like Russia's got to go. And North Korea is. Even North Korea showing Russia its place. Vladimir Putin has weakened Russia so much that he was forced to fly to North Korea and to give Kim Jong-un a present to sign a strategic cooperation agreement, including military cooperation, basically forming a union, including a military union with North Korea, stating that if anyone attacks North Korea, that Russia would be defending it. He did that because he's in absolute desperation. He needs help. He needs further supplies of weapons, and he needs people. He's running out of people, and he got 10,000 soldiers after he flew to North Korea and signed this agreement. In diplomatic language, it's like going to North Korea and kissing Kim's boot. That's what he did. He did get 10,000 troops. They're gone. They haven't been heard from now. Most likely they're all killed in Ukraine. And they did not help Putin to reclaim Kursk land, Kursk province. So all these actions of Putin have resulted in Russia becoming not a player in world's politics any longer. And these are real results of 3 years of Putin's war. Again, you can fact check me if you want. If you do, please let me know in the comments. I'm waiting. There are quite a few news that confirm what I am telling you now. And the news now, significant news come out from Russia every single day in large numbers. And to stay on top of everything that is going on, um, I've been offering 9 news every single day, 54 news per week. I am calling it Formula 54 to patrons of Inside Russia. Every single day, I carefully select 9 news that I find matter, that I find important, and I make them available to patrons. 9 news every day with my commentaries and analysis. So if you want to stay on top of things Russia, you didn't know where to look for information, look no further. Just become patron. I'm going to put the link down below after this live stream ends, and it's going to be in the pinned comment as well. So now I would like to talk about what I think the most important part, the results of the war that can be projected onto Russian society. Russian society, the people, that's what most matters the most. The wars come and go. The economies fail and bounce back, but the people stay. It's easy to fix the economy. It's nearly impossible to fix a person. So, Russian people, Russian society, it has transformed in many areas. And the most important ones, I think, is I'll start with children. When I was coming back to Russia a long time ago, over 20 years ago, after having spent 9 years in the USA, one of the reasons was I wanted my child to get Russian culture, to speak Russian language, to get education in Russian school, just like I did. I liked it. I'm Russian. My cultural code is Russian, and I wanted my children to also have that. And our youngest, Michael, was born in 2016, and I want that for Michael too. I wanted that for Michael too. And we lived in Moscow, and I figured that at least for half of his school years, we would remain in Russia. So he would learn Russian, he would have Russian friends, he would get Russian culture, he would become Russian. And it was okay, because children in Russian schools were just educated. They were never taught patriotism, and they were far from indoctrination. As a matter of fact, this word was not even used. But everything changed in 2022, and the Russian state looked at Russian children. Like that eye of the Sauron in the movie The Lord of the Rings, like with a big light, and then when you put your ring on, the light shines on you, and then that light started shining on Russian children. I remember Michael coming back from school in September of 2022, and singing some kindergarten, not school. He was 5 years old at the time, and he was singing some kind of a patriotic, stupid song. And I asked him, Michael, where'd you hear that? He goes, oh, in the kindergarten. We had a special class. There was a person came, and they were teaching us the songs and show us some movies or cartoons. It's like, what? My son singing that? And it started. Indoctrination of children through high schools, and kindergartens started. You indoctrinate children, you seed certain ideas in their minds. And if you nourish those ideas for years, then you get a generation of people who are brainwashed. I know, I lived in that society. A lot of Russian Soviet people back in the 80s and the 70s, they truly believed in the ideals of communism because they had been brainwashed all their lives, starting from kindergartens. And that is happening right now. A generation of Russian people is growing up indoctrinated. Just to give you another example, one of the members of Tashkent Breakfast Club told me a personal story. Said that in 2022, she went to meet the deputy minister of education. She worked at a large company and they were offering educational courses. They saw there was a need in Russian schools for a certain program, and they offered and they made presentation. And the deputy minister looked at them, said, "You know what? We don't need that. It's a good educational program, but Russian schools are not about education any longer. They're about patriotism, creating the character of children." And my friend asked, "Isn't it the responsibility of parents to do that?" I said, "No, not any longer. It's the responsibility of the state." And education, he said, "Well, that's secondary." And that was the deputy minister of education of Russia. That's a huge change that is happening in Russian society. That's a fact. Education is patriotism now. There is a huge issue that will only be growing in Russia, and that is people with trauma. All soldiers coming back from the front line, and there are over a million soldiers right now, they will come back with different kinds of traumas and PTSD. The problem is they don't understand, most don't understand why they are there and what they're fighting for. The Ukrainians, on the other hand, they understand exactly what they're fighting for their land, for their families, for their children, for their country. They defending their country. That's the same thing as with us in the USSR. If anyone asks any member of my family, my friends, what your people were doing in 1941, 42, World War II, it's simple. Germany invaded, we were defending our country. No one had a second thought about that. It's a little different now with Russians. Why are they in Ukraine? And when they will coming back, I take it they'll have a lot of anger, a lot of confusion, and they will be taking out that anger as violence against Russians, regular people. There will be a spike in crime, different crimes. We're already seeing it in Russia now. It's going to get much worse. We're going to see lots of problems with organized crime, a lot of very experienced soldiers coming back with weapons now, and so forth. Russian society is going to face that. So it's been created by Putin ordering to attack Ukraine. No one really is talking about this. Mass denunciations in Russia. That's a thing of the past that returned back with a bang. All of a sudden, denouncing is something from the past, something we hated, something was considered absolutely inhuman and not worthy of a human being, is back. I don't want to go into details. I've talked much about it. That's not going to stop. People are rating out other people. That's going to continue even after the end of the war. Another thing they're not talking about is Russians don't have babies anymore. Russian population is declining. A very bad situation because Russians simply don't want to have kids in the future. Russia. Instability, economic instability, political instability, crime, increased crime, Russians just rather wing it without children. Russian army has been, well, what's going to happen after the war stops? Nothing different. It's going to be the source of corruption, source of different crimes, and nothing good will come out of Russian army. Another thing that society is changing about is, this is a very recent development. Russian state always translated this idea to Russian people that you are number one. We're here for you. In case something happens, you have our support. Until recently. Right now, the message has changed. It's different. And the person who started translating this message is the new governor of Kursk province, Hinstein. I made him a hero of a few reports that I did. The guy has a certain goal, and basically he translates to Russian people, the state does not have money to support you. You are on your own. Anything happens to you, deal with it. Don't ask us for help. There is no money. We would love to help, but we're fighting the war that's costing us a lot of money. And basically, he has made direct speeches about that. He let people know that. Okay, he doesn't promise things. Quite on the contrary. He says, this is it. Forget about the support. And that is not just a message to Kursk. It's a message to all border regions. Bryansk, Belgorod, Rostov. People, you are on your own. Don't the state on its own, and you're on your own. That's not a good development, let me tell you. But it's there, it's a fact. And probably the biggest change that has been happening with people is they started losing empathy. On this third anniversary, I spoke to quite a few people in Russia. And you know what? I called casually. I said, I asked them questions. No one has brought this fact that today is 3 years of the war, as if they have forgotten about that. And of course they haven't. They stopped caring. They care about things, all right. They care about failing state of Russian economy. Every single person I talked to, from different walks of life, by the way, started complaining how things are getting worse economically, how it's more difficult to earn money, how people are getting laid off, how it's more difficult to find a job now, vacancies only for small money, for small salaries. Oh, they can talk about that for hours. I ask about prices. They tell me how prices have changed, how everything is crazily expensive now. I know that, thank you. But when I ask about Ukraine, they act as if Ukraine is far away and someone else is fighting there, not Russia. It doesn't concern them. They don't care. It's far away, okay? They live in a bubble where Ukraine simply doesn't exist. The war doesn't exist. They, of course, some just ignore talking about it, and some tell me directly. Said we don't want to talk about it because if we do, we start asking questions. It hurts, and basically we've decided to opt out from talking and discussing and thinking about it. And that's not how you live life. That's not how you deal with situations, okay? It's not how you face the truth. You stand up and look at it. And the truth can be different. The truth can be sweet or it can be very bitter. But you can't hide. Ostriches do that, not people. You can't hide. You can't dig your head in sand, okay? It's gonna bite you in the butt sooner or later. You stand up, you look at this with your eyes and you deal with it, and you deal with the way how your heart tells you, hints you how to deal with it. And it seems like Russian people are not doing that. At least the majority, I would say 80%. Their hearts have become much colder than it used to be. Many have lost empathy. Um, they have become more cold-blooded and less. I would say that a lot have less of heart. And the war in Ukraine continues. It's been 3 years. And I would like to stress once more time, I think that Ukraine will shine in the future because it still has a lot of support. It still has at least support of Europe. And Ukraine is united as a nation. Yet Russia is quite on the contrary. Russia is confused. A lot of people have questions. And they are going to face hard reality sooner or later. Because they can't hide from it forever. Ukraine will shy and Russia will, well, what's the best word? I think will be in misery for a very long time. Russia used to be a very good country. I remember it. I remember when I came back from the United States to live in Russia. I enjoyed living there. It was fantastic. But that country is lost. What awaits us is, well, in Russia, what awaits Russia is misery. And that's going to be happening for a very long time. I think in our lifetimes. Thank you so very much. Thank you for giving me a chance to deliver you my message. It has been a message. I would like to invite everyone to live stream chat. Although we have about 10 minutes, my message has been incredibly long, but I'm sorry, I couldn't have made it shorter because that's how can I topic like this. Let me turn live stream chat on and couple manipulations. Thank you for coming, friends. Before I start, I ask everyone to be nice to each other in this live stream chat and not to discuss US politics. There are other times and other places for that. I will most likely do a stream or a video on what's happening in Russia, with Russia, in Ukraine, with Russia and the United States negotiating, but not today. Please abstain from discussing the politics and the actions of the United States. That's a different topic. I would like to thank the moderators. They are Lorna, Mommy. Thank you, friends, for coming back. Bob, Amir, Harry, and Dirk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The best people of Inside Russia. They are guardian angels. Again, please don't make their lives difficult. Please do not. Be nice. And thank you, the usual suspects, for coming. As usual, if you want me to notice your message easier, please put it in all caps. Put Inside Russia after @ so it's highlighted in orange. Much easier for me to see, just like Leitmotif did. Thank you, and I'll be looking for messages highlighted. Sam, the Legend K, long time no see. Good to see you. Lucas, thank you so much. Doing much better. I've recovered completely. Feeling down from all these developments and happenings. Big time. My wife also, but it's life. No one said it's going to be easy in exile. Alu, howdy. SVR. Without us, what can Europe do to step up? let's discuss it some other time. Europe can do a lot. Okay, so without US, I'm sorry, not without us. But still, that's a different topic for discussion. Double A, thank you. Andreas Benz, hello. Arn, thank you. Scott Nesbitt, hello, hello. Pinda the Peanut, thank you so very much. That's what I'm here for. And friends, talking to you right now is actually very therapeutic. I've been feeling incredibly bad all day. Especially calling Russia. It's actually unbelievable. A lot of Russians don't even bring up, and I tell them, well, it's 3-year anniversary. They say, oh, really? Oh well. Oh well? Oh well? That's my country and that's my people. I just want to run away from there for as long as far as I can. And just lay down and put the blanket on and just don't hear anyone and don't say anything, don't get the news, and just lay there and sleep there. That's how I'm feeling. Hi-Fi Nerd. I like the name, Hi-Fi Nerd. So, are you really hi-fi enthusiast? When there were times in my life when I had decent amount of money, disposable money, I should have invested. Let me tell you this: I spent a lot, and I should have invested. But I was alone, single, just basically just trying to have fun. I bought myself a hi-fi system. Six speakers of a company called Piega. Have you heard of them? And then TNA, a German hi-fi system. In TNA, both processor and CD player. And then I sold it. I didn't. I was not into hi-fi stuff, and I sold it. Lost a little bit of money, but not much. Gurmo, howdy. LNKP. Um, Keith, aloha. Terry Carter from Pulaski, Virginia. Thank you for coming, friend. Quiet Tone. Have any Western media companies approached you for your take on the war? I gave couple interviews to a Canadian news company. I think it's ABC Prime. They interviewed me. I was in with Vladimir Milov, a big politician, economist from Russia, in the same program. Then a Japanese folks, TV Asahi, came to interview me on Russian stores, general information. It was 2022. Then in 2023, I think, well, Sky News from Australia, the Irish company RT1, and American company, I think NBC, also like big news. And that's pretty much it. When they are interested in a hot topic that's happening, for example, mobilization, they scan YouTube for bloggers who are in the subject, and they invite you. So I've been invited a few times, but not much. So I would say more no than yes to this question. Just a few times, but I'm always open for them, but not much. Wayne, don't forget to add subtitles. Wayne, I never add subtitles. They are automatically generated by YouTube. It's just after a live stream, it takes a few hours for YouTube to generate subtitles. Thomas Davis, sending you lots of loves from Wales, sending lots of love back from Uzbekistan. Thank you. A person with a name I can't even read says you're a good man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Philip Dopirak, hi from Slovakia. Do you think that Russia will help North Korea same way they did with Armenia? Well, I tell you what. I will cite the words phrase of a classic. That was German Chancellor. He said once, the agreements with Russia are not worth the paper that they are signed on. That's answering your question. Elsha, there's only one thing I wish for, and no speak about it out loud. Elsha makes two of us. I wish the same thing. KG1, have your friends and the refugees in Uzbekistan managed to prosper in their lives? Yes, the ones who stayed here have all prospered. Well, you can't really call it prospering, but we are surviving. Let's put it this way. Some better than others, but some worse. But we're all surviving. We're all still here. We're all breathing. We're all smiling. We all have shelters, food to eat, and our children go to school. Many families with children. If you go to any school in Russia, in Uzbekistan, you will see a few Russian nationals, kids with Russian citizenship. And most parents left for the same reason. They don't want their children come back from school saying, "Oh, I love this patriotic song." And where'd you learn it? Obviously, at the patriotic lesson. We are giving our children this much by not allowing them to study there. I'm seeing that we're running out of time. Not too much time to speak today. Just 3 more minutes, if possible. Remy Leon, thank you. You're probably one that did the most to tell the truth about what's going on. I pray that you think about your future and your family. Thank you so much, friend. Let me tell you something. I feel more and more alone. Not alienated, alone. I feel the world is spinning around me, and I feel my wife is worse than me. She starts questioning us, not like family, but questioning like what the hell going on in the country? Why is this happening? Why people, when we talk to them, they do not respond, resonate to our values and things like that. And this is what I have decided. I actually am making video tomorrow, and it's called I Stand with Ukraine. And it's not going to be a live stream, just a video. I stand with Ukraine. I continue standing where I've been standing. Okay? I'm not changing my take on anything, because this is the truth. Russia is the aggressor. It invaded Ukraine, not the other way around. I know that the USA is acting against Ukraine now, and today they are fighting in the UN against Ukrainian resolution, which is unthinkable. The United States of America, okay? Well, it doesn't matter. If everyone turns away from Ukraine, I am still standing with Ukraine, okay? And this is the world spinning around me. I'm still standing the ground. I know my values. I'm not changing them. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm not saying that Ukraine invaded anyone, Russia, whatever. I'm still here. So thank you so much for good wishes. But I've Göran, thank you so much. Like I said earlier today, this is very therapeutic. because I do feel your love. And without you, I'd be crushed. And that's the truth also. Pinda, your country has turned your back on you. I'm so used to it. This is not a shock to me anymore. At first, like I said, I was walking back and forth in Uzbekistan, not knowing what to do. I felt like I was chewed up and spat out. And I know I told like my friend that in Uzbekistan. He said, "You're lucky because you could have exited Russia in another hole, not spit out, but crapped out. Okay, and you'd be dirt right now." And that was also a possibility. Uh, but then I felt it like that back then, and now I'm used to it, and I'm okay with that. I've grown to accept it. But I can't accept that the world is turning against Ukraine. What the? Last question I'll take. Leitmotif. Would lifting sanctions help the economy to bounce back? Yes. If um, the sanctions are lifted soon, all of them, Russian economy, it will not go back to the levels of before war, but it will survive. Right now, what it's doing, the economy is not sustainable. It's bound to crash big time. It's crashing already. All these industries are crashing. But if all of a sudden they start buying Russian aluminum, Russian oil, Russian coal, then the industries will be saved. They're not going to be doing well, but there will be no huge crash. So Russia is at the point of no return for economic growth, but it still can get to a point where it'll be just existing, on the bottom somewhere. But it's not gonna crash big time. And right now, it's going towards big crash. So lifting sanctions would definitely help. Russia's aqua fresh toothpaste country now. Not sure what you mean. Friends, I have some people who are waiting for us to pray for them. So I would like to ask everyone to join me for a daily prayer. Thank you so much. If you're religious, please join. If you're not, please join anyway. Do me a favor. Join and wish good wishes and good to people, So let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for everything you've given us. Thank you for the food on our tables and roofs above our heads. Thank you for the people who love us and surround us. Thank you for our families. Thank you for our children. Please give us wisdom to raise our children in a way that when they grow up, they will not fight in any wars, but be friends to each other and love each other. Give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful. For now, please keep our children healthy and safe. Dear Lord, on this day, I am asking you to help Ukraine, like I've been asking for the past 3 years. Dear Lord, stop the bloodshed. Use any means possible, any tools, any people, any situation to stop the bloodshed. Ukraine has suffered a lot and it needs peace. It needs love. It needs a break. Please help every single Ukrainian who has suffered in this war. Answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. Reach out and touch those who are responsible for making the decision. Wake them up from their lethargic sleep. Fill their hearts with feelings, with warmth, so they wake up and remember that they're still human beings with love in their hearts. Please do that. So they make the decision to stop the bloodshed. And on this day, I am asking you to help my country, Russia, to please assemble your strongest angels with sharpest swords into an army, and Saint Michael lead this army to go down to this earth and get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, who we know by their names and by their faces. Please have your shining army get rid of them. Send your angels to help Russians, good Russians, to run their country so it becomes peaceful, respecting, and loving. Please do that. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling. Send them safe travels. Please help everyone who is in danger of any kind. Send safety and help everyone who is seeking for asylum. Send good news. Please help all of single mothers and fathers who are having troubles raising their children, trying to make ends meet. Help those who are helping Ukrainians, and help Ukrainians who are currently under attacks from Russian troops, missiles. Please send everyone safety. Dear Lord, please help everyone in need, the sick, the addicted, the ones who are fighting their own demons, the ones who are hungry, homeless, jobless, depressed, the ones who are losing their faith, the ones who are crying, feeling betrayed, the ones whose world has turned upside down, the ones who are feeling alone in this world. Send them some of your love and warmth. Please help everyone in need. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together and pray. Thank you for everyone who is praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Please answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I have a few people who need your help. They are Ron Bazoid, Sandra, Teresa, please help Sandra Workman to recover after her surgery. Karsten, Janice Burgess, Ann Larson and her daughter Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Katharina Holm, Alex, Mark, Hank's sister, who's in Sloan's hospital still, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Gabin with Gary, Lisa Kumrian, Harry, Terry, John, Linda, Paula W., Dennis, Jason, Susie, Tim, Dory, Rhonda, John, Taylor, Wayne, Dave, Don, Darla, George Ruberty, Pamela, Meta, David, Leif, Randolph, Grace, Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natasha, Michael, Jake, Olga, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey, Liz, Ron, Liz, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Petra, Joseph, Millie, Jodes, Philip, Eileen, Denise, Renate, Janice, Derek, Jeff Gibson, and I also would like to ask you to help all the children who have been displaced from Ukraine. Please have them return to their families. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you for coming on such a sad day and sharing this time with me, friends. Thank you. I would like to remind you that you are absolutely awesome and you rock. Please come back. I have an important message tomorrow about my stand on Ukraine. Again, I feel like the world is spinning around me, but all I can do is just make it day by day. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you so much. Please say out loud along with me, as loud as you can, the usual. Carthago delenda est. Thank you.